This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Bita.
Welcome to our show.
Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 157 of the Modern Persian Food Podcast. Today, Bita and I are going to be talking about preserving foods in the form of jam. As we discussed last week, it was Mehragan. It's an ancient Persian celebration of the season's bounty. So there's been a lot of harvest happening and people's gardens are overflowing and the trees are all full of fruit. And how can we preserve some of those flavors into other months? So we're going to talk about jamming and using those beautiful fruits into these delicious jams. And we could talk about some non-fruit jams as well. We're going to walk through a recipe that Bita has been perfecting, and then we'll chat about ways to serve this beautiful jam that you're going to make or buy and enjoy this season.
Jam on it. We're jamming.
Yeah.
Persian jam. It's a big part of food culture, especially with breakfast. And I think Persian jams are really unique. They're aromatic. They can be beautifully colored and they make really nice gifts.
Yes, totally. And you know what I love about the Persian jams is they're so colorful. And to your point, aromatic, like quince jam, like turns into this beautiful ruby color. The figs with a pretty green color, carrot, albalu, which is sour cherry. It's like such a beautiful array of colors. So I think that makes it really special. And a lot of times the fruits that are used actually have pectin in it. So you don't actually have to add additional pectin, which I think is pretty cool. When I first realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like literally as simple as fruit and sugar and water in its like simple form. So aromatic and so beautiful that it can just stand alone like that.
Yeah, I think I had that discovery as well the first few times of realizing how easy it is to make homemade jam. It's as simple as that. Just kind of sugar, water, and then whatever you're putting in it and your aromatics, and you have jam.
Yeah, there you go. What's some of your favorite jams? Let's talk about the different kinds of jams.
I'm a rose girl. I love rose essence and flavors, and I really like it on a fluffy piece of Barbary bread. And so I love the jams that have a rose essence. So rose petal jam, of course, has not only the rose water, but the actual rose petals. So it's bursting with rose flavor. That's probably my number one favorite. And I do make it and I buy it. So I think finding a high quality culinary rose petal is going to result in a really nice tasting Persian rose jam. Sometimes with floral flavors, it can have a bitter aftertaste, but I think if you find a Persian rose or order a culinary dried rose petal online, it's hard to mess it up. I mean, it's pretty simple. That's a really simple one to make, surprisingly.
That sounds great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, this carrot jam that I just made today actually is so good. When you say carrot jam, I don't know. To me, it's like, it doesn't sound that appetizing, but it is really unique. The Persian flavors, it tastes like a dessert. And it does also have a little bit of rose water and cardamom. I love those. My husband is a big bread jam breakfast guy. Every day he has some. And so we always have sour cherry. That's his favorite. We always have mezze, which is quince. And so, yeah, those are probably our top ones. You did a nice walkthrough of how to make mezze, which is the quince jam. That's a very iconic Persian jam.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we talk about that in the mezze episode. We have a dedicated quince episode 56. We'll link it in the show notes if anyone wants to brush up on how to make quince jam. What I love about that quince jam, as I was referencing, is that the color of it. So quince itself is like a pale yellow color, but after you cook it for long enough, that pale yellow turns into this bright, vivid, like ruby color. So it's really cool to kind of see that. And you have like the slices of the quince and you have little quince seeds floating around in the jam. So I think that that's like one of my favorite jams. I love it so much. And then the fig jam as well. So fig is very seasonal right now. If people have fig trees, they may be overflowing with figs. And I'm super jealous because I love figs. But you can make the jam. And I actually walk through the jam recipe specific for fig actually in the fig episode 48. If anyone wants to do that, if you're looking to do something with all of your figs, you can do that as well. But olbalu for me too, the sour cherry, that's like a favorite, I kind of iconic type of morabba jam. We call it morabba. They're beautiful. It's fun to, when you have like a Persian breakfast, to have kind of a variety of different jams to feature. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of that. Tell us about the carrot jam. If you don't mind doing a little walkthrough and kind of like what you learned, recipe testing it, and what you think, that would be great.
I would love to. I actually broke open my Yogurt and Whey cookbook by Homa Dashtaki. Homa Dashtaki was one of our special guests that we had in our up-and-coming Persian cookbook author series. And I remember that she had a section on preserves and jams. And so I did. I made her carrot preserves recipe. Now, I had the pre-shredded carrots in a bag that I had left over from Trader Joe's. So I often will buy the pre-shredded carrots to add to my salads and my slaws and my Asian salads and so on. And I actually had frozen this bag of carrots because
Oh, wow.
we were leaving for out of town and, I didn't want to waste the food. So I froze the carrots.
Wow, I never have thought that.
Yeah, with the intention of making jam because, normally I would not freeze carrots. I think that it probably takes away from their sweetness and flavor a little bit. But
Sure.
in the back of my mind, I thought, well, if I'm going to make a jam, maybe it's okay.
Uh-huh. Great idea.
Yeah, I figured, freezing them wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that much of the carrot because I had a half a bag. So when I made this recipe, I had to adjust it, and proportionally her recipe is for a nice big batch. I wish that I had made a nice big batch because it turned out so good and I would have loved to have enough to share. So I'll have to make it again. But it did. It turned out really delicious. I did have to manipulate the water. So I think that if I had followed it to the T, I'm sure that it would have turned out perfectly. But because I was just doing some guesswork and trying to figure out, okay, I have 2 cups of carrots. And so how many quarts of water and how much sugar? So I was doing a lot of kind of guessing and trial and error. And I ended up needing to empty out some of the water in order for it to boil down enough.
Sure.
But I think what's so delicious about the carrot jam is that there really isn't a lot to it. It's carrot, it's the sugar water that's boiling in, and then at the very end, you add some rose water. It also has cardamom still in the pod or the shell that you crack. And I love that flavor. I think the cardamom flavor along with the rose water makes it very desserty and almost tastes like a baklava.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so the last ingredient in Homa's recipe here is pistachios.
Oh,
and
lovely.
So I was going through my cupboard. I always have pistachios, but the pistachios that I currently have were salted, and I just didn't think that would work. But I remembered that I had ordered a little jar of ground pistachio from one of our great sponsors, Persian Basket.
Yes.
And so in the refrigerator, I had a little jar of ground pistachios that I stirred in. And oh my gosh, it actually worked out perfectly. Honestly, I'm just going to use that type of pistachio when I make this jam in the future.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it just stirred in really nicely.
Gave it a little texture.
It gave it some texture. It gave it extra flavor. And so, yeah, this is right up there with one of my all-time favorite jams now.
Wow, so cool. Yeah, I love that, being able to kind of take quick shortcuts too. So the ground pistachio is great. And then this pre-shredded carrots, that's such like an easy way to like pull it together. And how special would that be? It's like, oh, I made carrot jam for you, for breakfast, or if you're entertaining, or if you want to go somewhere and take like a little jar that you've made of homemade jam. Like, I love it. Beautiful. Well done.
It's really unique. I think it's going to be great as a gift. And I know we're talking about jams that you could make, and we're in the fall season, but I was thinking that I am going to put this in my back pocket and roll it out and maybe make it in the winter for winter holidays and gift it out, because I think that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great because you can always find carrots, thankfully, at the market. And what about like a springtime, close to Easter type of gift giving opportunity too? That sounds fun.
Oh, cute. Yeah. Anytime. Anytime.
Yeah. And beautiful orange color. I'm assuming that the color is super radiant.
Yeah, we're in the fall right now. I know this isn't on our list of jams, but I just wanted to also jump in and say that apples work, and maybe it's not called jam, but the Morabayebe, the quince jam that you make Bita June and that we've talked about, the quince can sometimes be tricky to find.
Yeah.
And I think the closest fruit to quince in flavor is the apple, in both flavor and texture. And so I love to make applesauce and apple butters. And we're gifted with, we have an apple tree and my neighbor has apple trees. And so I always have tons of apples. And that's what I do, is I make like an apple butter and apple sauce.
Yes. Yes. That sounds delicious. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for that note.
Yeah. Very fall cozy too. When you're cooking down apples with cinnamon, a whole house smells good.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get to some apple picking this year. We eat a ton of apples in our house, so it'll be fun to kind of go out and pick them off the tree and enjoy them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of like when we can use the jam. So,
yeah,
of course, you can have it with like your beautiful Persian style breakfast where you have a couple different jams featured. I love doing like a big egg dish, like a big centerpiece of like eggs. And then you can have a variety of breads, butter, feta cheese. And if you want to have some like cucumber or fresh herbs too, we always love having that. And also, of course, nuts. That's kind of like your Persian breakfast spread. We actually have an episode, Persian breakfast episode, one of the early ones, 27, and then actually another episode for Persian brunch, number 83, kind of go into like what our favorite way is to have Persian breakfast when we're entertaining. So more information there if you are interested in learning more. So outside of breakfast, what are the other ways that we can use these jams? So, you know, as you were mentioning carrot jam, it reminds me, I love Seville orange jam too, made with like the peel of orange, of Seville oranges, or really, you know, any kind of orange. And there's kind of methods of how you have to cook out the bitterness of the orange peel to do that. But what I use that jam for a lot, and I think that carrot jam would actually be perfect for this execution as well, is when I'm making like a layered rice, like shirin polo. Shirin polo is our beautiful celebration rice that has carrots and orange peel and pistachios and almonds, and sometimes you could put like zeresh barberries in it. It's super beautiful and it's sweet. And they have it for like weddings and celebrations. And you can use the kind of this jam in the mix as you're layering. So I love that as like an easy shortcut. You can actually use like olbolu, sour cherry jam, and layer that with rice if you want a shortcut, easy way to make olbolu polo. So jams can be layered with rice for like a layered dish.
You talk about that a lot, and I've never tried that. I've always done a bit more traditional on the jeweled rice and the shireen sweet rice, but I should try it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the traditional is maybe more delicious, but if you want to try to make it a little easier or faster, then definitely using the jams is a great cheat and little shortcut.
Yeah, because it kind of keeps most of the flavors, and then I bet the aesthetic qualities are up there. You know, it probably looks very pretty too.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these rice dishes can be sweet too, so you don't need to add additional sugar because the sugar is already like in the jam itself. So that's bringing the sweetness.
Good point. Yeah. I like to use them in cheese boards.
Yeah. Yep.
I love a perfect bite of, you know, your favorite type of cracker, lavash cracker, favorite cheese, a little dollop of your favorite jam. And the Persian jams are so unique. You know, put that on there and then a nut on top. Maybe an herb. If you want to go next level, put an herb.
That sounds so good. But yeah, like a beautiful cheese platter, charcuterie platter, some sort of like big spread is always lovely with like a little bowl, or even just like right on the, if you're using like a cutting board, right on the cutting board, you can kind of like pile on some of the jam. It's beautiful. It tastes delicious paired with these other foods, and the visual presentation of it is really nice too.
Yeah, a Mediterranean mezze board would, in my envisioning, would have some of those little ramekins or little bowls of jams in different colors, as well as the savory, maybe some stuffed eggplants and olives.
Yeah,
and,
some nuts.
kind of have a little bit of something for everyone.
Yeah, sometimes people will put like honey. So this would be like an alternative to putting honey or honeycomb on a cheese board. So yes, I love that too.
Exactly.
A lot of times I will kind of make a like an easy dessert with either, you can use yogurt, you could use ice cream, or if it's in the morning and you want to use a bowl of cottage cheese, but you can have these bowls of like dairy or dairy alternative based foods and pile on your morabba on top of that as like a little easy like treat or topping. And other desserts that we can do it. I love actually making cakes. One of my like little dessert hacks that I do is if I make like a pretty basic cake, then I'll pour jam actually on top of it. And I've talked about this before of doing it on top of cheesecake for like an easy like holiday dessert. But you just get the cheesecake or just get a regular cake and pour morabba, pour the jam on top of it. And again, it's just like the syrup kind of like soaks into the cake a little bit, and then the beautiful color of the jam right on top. Really kind of like takes a very simple item and really makes it pretty stunning. If you maybe want to put chopped nuts on top too, it'll make it even more beautiful.
I just had a flashback to my childhood. Should I share it?
Oh, really? Yeah, go for it.
My mom used to, at dinner parties, serve, it sounds like a really gross combination, but trust me, it is weirdly good. Is she would serve ice cream in these little, they look like glass champagne
Yep.
glasses almost.
Uh-huh.
And she would put a dollop of ice cream. She would put fruit, but she would use fruit cocktail. I grew up in the Midwest. And then she would sprinkle it with instant coffee ground, which again, I'm telling you, I was like, as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? That's so gross.
Oh,
It is so good. And people would ask for it, when she wasn't planning on it. Oh yeah, can we have that like special dessert that you make? But this sounds like a little bit like that, almost like an unexpected jam on the ice cream.
Yeah.
Is your signature dessert, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like if we want to just do some, have something a little bit more special. And I think you're talking about like the champagne glasses, like the coupe type of wide glasses. Yeah.
Fancy.
In Persian households, they may call that dessert khori. Put little desserts and you have a beautiful display. Especially if you're hosting, you can come out with like a beautiful tray of like 8 or 10 like little wide like cups or glasses, bowls, really, and they're all decorated like that. It's always very special to end a dinner party that way.
Yeah. I know we moved away from breakfast, but in addition to serving it in bread or on toast, the jams also work in a brunch format, drizzled on French toast, pancakes, waffles, instead of jam. And again, a pop of color and some fun flavors.
Yeah, instead of syrup. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfect. I love that. You're right. That it was always such a, nice little unexpected twist with like a little bit more flavor and color and texture. So yeah. So hopefully we have inspired you to either try making some Persian jam or get some next time you're at the market and use it in more ways than just topping it on your toast in the morning. And hopefully you can enjoy it throughout the fall, into the winter, and well into the spring.
Jam on it.
Jam on it.
Let's do it. We haven't asked the beats today. Today's question, our ATB, comes from Allison from Pleasanton. The question is, what was your favorite thing that you ate this summer? I have to think back.
That's hard to pick one thing. There's a lot of good food, thankfully, this summer. Lots of family time and eating out time. I would have to say that Bita and you and I were working on a project over the summer, doing some recipe testing, and I was in charge of doing the like saffron braised lamb shank. And I really enjoyed that because it was just fun to kind of experiment and also try. I did a couple different variations. I did a lamb shank, I did lamb shoulder, and I did beef shank too, to try them all out. And I think that eating that was one of like the highlights of my top of my summer food list. You know, I do like meats, so I did enjoy that a lot if I had to just pick one off the top of my head right now.
Oh, delicious. Yeah, you worked hard making those, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was delicious. It was always nice to be like, okay, now we get to eat and then criticize or critique it and figure out what to do next time.
Yeah, fun.
How about you?
Well, this question reminds me of one of our early questions. Early on, someone asked us something to the effect of like, if you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only take one food with you, like, what's your last meal? And I said bread and butter.
Oh,
Everybody made fun of me about.
no way, dude. Sounds great.
But honestly, my answer is similar. My answer is similar. I love a good bread. It has to be a good bread. And over the summer, we had a family member visiting from Vancouver, and we had a special meal. We all got together, and she was so kind as a guest. She got up early in the morning, and she made fresh Nuna Barberry bread.
Oh my God. As a guest in the house, she got up and did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a guest in the house. She did, and it was so delicious. And she and I had a conversation about, I had also made Barberry for the first time, I think in the spring. And so we were talking about making breads and the similarities between focaccia, Italian focaccia, and Nuna Barberry. And then ironically, on a late summer family trip, we went to Italy and I had the opportunity to eat fresh focaccia, which of course I was totally obsessed with. And it is so similar to Nuna Barberry. I mean, I saw it right firsthand, right? It felt like I was at one point, place that we were eating breakfast. It was absolutely the same, except for this particular focaccia had salt on top. And I also love salt. So I was just obsessed with this bread. I felt like I was eating fresh Nuna Barberry with just sprinkled with some sea salt. It was so good.
That sounds delicious. And then the smell of it too, of fresh baked bread, is always so lovely too.
I want to make it. I want to actually bake Nuna Barberry Persian bread and then put some Italian flair. I'd put a little bit of rosemary from the garden and some salt. I'm going to try it. And I think probably it has extra olive oil.
Yeah. And then the Barberry is nice shape.
Oval shape with olive oil.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Well, that was fun. Thank you, Bita Jun. Hope everyone has a great day, and stay tuned for next week where we're going to be continuing with a preserving topic, and we're going to be talking about torshi and preserving some vegetables, fruit and vegetables, depending on what your recipe is, and more to come on that. Until next time.
Can't wait. Bye.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.